Bellamy Young, are you prepared to have the phrase "Smelly Mellie" follow you around for years and years?
Anything to do with Mellie, I am very, very proud to be associated with ad infinitum. It's just been one of the greatest blessings of my life, this role.
Is this the best role of your career so far?
Absolutely, no question. I'm so blessed because, I'm 45 and I've never had to do a real job. I've always been an actor, and which is a dream come true in itself. And I've done Broadway and I've done films and I've done TV, never obviously to any acclaim in that sort of way. But I mean, this job is enormous, an enormous step forward in that regard. But it's also just, Marcus, this job, I could never have dreamed of a journey so challenging and rewarding and so safe but terrifying, and it's just really actor heaven. Especially this year. This year for Mellie was incredible.
Yeah, it was a great year for Mellie and for you for playing her. She started out the season really emotional about the death of her son and ended the season as the new senator of Virginia. How would you
I,
describe it? It's kind of a whirlwind, isn't it?
I mean, can you even? And we have no idea. We never know what's coming. We get it the day before at the table read, and just kind of leap. But I could never have imagined. I was at sea enough when we began the season this year with the whole notion of Smelly Mellie, like what she was, what she looked like, what was really happening, the tone of it. Like I couldn't get the tone of it. And Shonda's the best boss in the world and so open to dialogue about really getting on the same page creatively. And she wrote in one of our back and forth emails, Mellie's never been more beautiful because she's never been more free. And that sort of like unlocked everything. And it was such a joy is a weird word, but it felt so good to play a different kind of grief. You see a lot of like especially in women on TV, you get a lot of narrowed emotions, a narrower emotional envelope. They're going to cry about things or they're going to yell about things. But Shonda writes very complicated, very messy people, and especially women. And for Mellie to get to go through that really different kind of grief, like an almost humorously ugly, but I thought very, for all the people that I've lost in my life, I don't necessarily grieve appropriately, and or at times I haven't, and it just felt really honest. So to start the season there was cool enough and comfortable enough. P.S. May I add, super comfortable. But who would have ever thought that then, the having to try and pull yourself together of it all, and then the kind of being in a new truth, having gone through that, and like having to get rid of Andrew, and then finding your footing as a candidate. It was so much fun this year.
Even though losing the son was basically the low point of Mellie's life, I imagine it's still kind of fun as an actress to play those crying scenes, to play those emotional scenes, or does that take something? Does that take something out of you personally?
Well, it's not taking anything you don't want to give. It's such a great gift to be asked more of than you think you have inside of you, to be asked to go further than you think you would normally go. If you're in any profession, any actors, teachers, scientists, parents, anything, if you are lucky enough to be in an arena that asks more of you than you ask of yourself, then you get better every day. And I feel like that Shonda does that for all of us. She gives us such gorgeous material in such a human way. It's never, it's often operatic, but it's never hyperbolic. It really isn't. And I know that this year she gave me some enormous gifts, all of us, really and really. And so no, I love it. I think any actor would love it. You like when they push you.
What's crazy is that after so many years on the air, you finally had your first scene with Joe Morton at the end of the season.
I know.
What
How
was it like
great.
to finally work with him?
Well, Joe and I had worked with Joe on an X-Files 150 years ago, and was so excited when he was just the first time he guested on the show. I was like, oh my gosh, because he's formidable, you know, and it only makes you better to be around people that are that insanely talented. So all these years I've been like, I want to talk to Papa Pope, but finally when it happened, it was beautifully crafted and such a joy to get to do. I also trailed Tom Barrica that episode as director. I shadowed him because trying to learn something, and so to get to watch all of our beautiful cast really as they're in their process, because it's a very bifurcated show. I get the joy of watching Tony and Jeffy a lot, but you know, I never get to see like Guillermo like in process. That whole episode was, I had a whole other perspective, and our incredible crew who worked their faces off, and I bow down. They are so talented. But yeah, to get to go toe to toe with Joe is a real sweet spot, and I am hopeful that I have more of that to look forward to in season 5.
I remember the X-Files episode. That was such a good one. It came late in the show's run too.
It did, and I mean, you know, Joe's so wonderful, but it was the story was told well. It was told sort of going back in time. That's what I find.
Mm-hmm. And you know, Joe won the Emmy last year for Scandal for guest starring. So we're hoping some of that luck will rub off on you, Bellamy Young.
I wouldn't say no, Marcus. That would be awesome.
If you get nominated at the Emmys, you'll have to submit, you know, one episode to the judges as like as a best of type episode for you, for Mellie. Is there one or two you're leaning toward if that were to happen?
If I were so lucky, it's weird because this year I really feel like the story of Mellie is her whole season, like where she went from grieving wife to formidable sort of candidate. But I think that the episode that, oh my gosh, you know, I'm right now on lunch break from a film that I'm doing in Atlanta, and so I have my head in such another world that I won't come up with the right title right this very second. But she goes from being Smelly Mellie to having to pull herself together for the State of the Union address, and then just the weight of all the propriety, all the protocol, the weight of the persona just sort of crumbles her again. And it's the first she's able to actually like exorcise the grief for little Jerry. If I had to pick one episode that was sort of a microcosm of her macro journey this year, I think that would be it.
Mm-hmm.
Although I sure did love, I mean, I super loved that first episode, and the way she laid Tony sort of straight on the balcony about like what she was and what's not going to put up with. And I also loved getting to say to him, I want to be president of the United States. I want to rule the world. Like that's been a long time, just like that slap was a long time coming. Like that was a long time coming. The moments this year were quieter, but they were no less seismic, I feel like, from Mellie.
And you're no stranger to awards. You won the Critics' Choice Award last year. What do you recall from that evening? You looked shocked. You looked very shocked.
I was super shocked, and I recall nothing. I don't remember anything. It was just, I remember Tatiana Maslany's face, and I remember thinking, that's Tatiana Maslany coming at me. Like, you know, like it was such a dream. I was so happy to be nominated. I'd never been nominated for anything, and that was amazing enough. And then I was with my manager, and we sat down in the room. You know, you go, Beverly Hilton is like where you go to all those things, right? You go to those things and you're in that room, but there, you know, it's a different room when you're there and you're a nominee, and you're like, and so we sat down at the table, and there was literally no way to get to the stage. And I turned to my manager and I was like, well, it's not me, because you can't get to the stage from here. And he looked around and he was like, no, you can't. And then like we were the first category up. So I literally was like, just sort of taken, like, I remember just being happy to take the room in that moment. And then like from underwater, they said my name. And then I literally couldn't find the stage. Like there's like 3 seconds of me running, which is the worst thing anyone could ever watch, me running. And then I do remember one thing. I was just super grateful to get to thank people because I love this job so much, and I love everybody that I work with. And I don't remember if it came out in English or gibberish, but I remember like my little heart just like clipping open, and then just like a torrent coming forth, because I got a lot of people to thank that I should be so lucky to be getting to be Mellie Grant.
And we have a fan question from Paula. She
Yeah,
says,
Paula, what?
the second half of the season felt very Clinton-esque, with Fitz ready to leave and run away with his mistress and Mellie wanting to become president. What do you make of the parallels there?
I like them. I like them. I mean, it's fun, right? I mean, sometimes it's fun. Lawn chair was not so fun because that was life imitating art. That no one would ever have wanted that to come to pass. But right now it's life imitating art, imitating life with Hillary's campaign. And I mean, I'm very excited to see how this next year will go. I really, really am on the edge of my seat, both, as an actor and as a person who gets to live in a democracy. It's a very exciting time. And to get to, maybe, I mean, who knows? We could go back to work in July and Shonda be like, I'm taking it all back, 7 years. And who even knows what'll happen? But if we're continuing on the road, we sort of are down part way, then it would be such a thrill to get to walk the road of presidential candidacy as Mellie Grant, with the words coming out of my mouth coming from Shonda Rhimes' brain. Just what she's done this year with so many things, but I'm thinking in this moment about gender politics. I just think it would be so fun, so interesting. I have no idea how it all come out.
It's a really clever way to keep the Grants in the White House too, because I mean, he can't have another term. So if you were to become president, you guys could stay there at least another 4 years.
Wow, your mouth to God's ears, Marcus. That would be awesome. I'll stay there as long as they'll let me.
And I forget the timeline. Is this Fitz's last year as president, or is there still?
No. Oh, you mean in terms? Oh, I see what you're saying. Yes. There was some debate about that in the spring because we fudged the timelines a little bit, but I believe that is, yes, still right. We're like 18 months out.
Gotcha.
Or we were. You never know.
Yeah. I mean, one season could be just, it couldn't be, it doesn't have to be real time. It could be a couple months, or one season they could flash forward a couple years. You never know.
Yeah. She really unfettered herself when she started the flashbacks, which I think were so, I love them. The first, that 752 episode with Guillermo, which still like gets me all the clumps when I think about it. But just the way, and it's the way you love people in your life, right? You know them in this moment, but you love them because you've known them a long time, and you know all the things that brought them to where they are. And those flashbacks, they just give you that kind of compassion for these often not so kind or gentle characters. But yeah, it just raises the empathy. I love it. So who knows? Yeah, we could go back in time.
At the end of the day, do you want Mellie to end up with Fitz, or do you want her to find happiness with some unseen character we haven't met yet?
Oh, well, I have to think me as I'll answer separately. I think Mellie wants 8 years of a presidency with Fitz lovingly at her side as, our nation's first gentleman. I think that would be her dream. As a viewer, gosh, I think as a viewer, and I'm probably projecting because I feel like this is a frustration I feel as Mellie. You feel that capable person wrapped inside a woman's body, sort of constant frustration. She's just able to do more than society wants her to do based on what's on her outside. So I want to watch her. I think if I were completely schizophrenic and I were just watching the TV show, I would want to watch her get to be all that she can be. But it is also really nice when someone's being kind to her. It's nice to see, I think, it's nice to see her in a gentle mode. So I don't know. I let the story tell into the smarter folks.
Right. Since the first episode, we've seen Fitz kind of, having two women basically. And this season, Mellie got it on with Andrew. Was that kind of fun for you?
It was amazing because we've spent this whole show sort of seeing Mellie in a really ugly color. Like jealousy is pretty on no one, right? It's just not it's not a pretty color. And so to see her adored and to see her like giggly happy, it was nice, right? It was also nice towards the end of this year when Fitz and Mellie were sort of in a better place. It wasn't a romantic sort of place, but it was a partnership, and just the softness and kindness and warmth was just nice. But it's, again, a credit to our beautiful writers that they can make us all excited about Mellie having an affair. I mean, it's still sort of hypocritical and, extramarital and all that kind of stuff. But John Tenney's the best. Yeah. And that character had a sharp sort of topography, right? He came in so sweet, and then it went all like, it's all so interesting. It was a joy. Mm-hmm. It's a joy. It all is. And then, bless his heart, we just gave him a stroke. He brought it on himself, Marcus. He brought it on himself.
Yeah. What was the fan reaction to the Mellie-Andrew relationship? Was it mostly positive, mostly negative, somewhere in the middle?
It was supportive. It was supportive. Yeah. It really, really was. I mean, I think it might be convenient for folks if Mellie were happy and if, Fitz could go be happy. Yeah, no one was too cruel or judgmental. Yeah, I'm blessed because most people who talk to me know that it's a story. I know that sometimes, like Tony particularly, a lot of people come after him like he's actually Fitz. But people enjoy the story with me. Like people get I'm very lucky. I love our gladiators, and they are wonderful to me, and we just sort of enjoy the story together.
And your Mellie is starting to have scenes with some of the gladiators more and more, but we still don't see you with them a lot. So every time you do act with them, is it kind of like almost like you're on a new show for that week?
It really, really is. I've still never said boo to Katie because I've only spoken to Guillermo in a flashback, and she wasn't part of OPA yet. So I feel like there are unexplored frontiers. I just keep waiting for Mellie to have to go over to OPA and get some help with something.
Oh, that'll be great.
Oh my God, I would love it so much. I only had to sit at that table once for a flashback when Deb Mooney, Verna, the Supreme Court Justice, we had a meeting, that little Illuminati meeting. And that table is so pretty. It's so pretty over there. But they're also such interesting actors. I miss Sweet Columbus. We've had Darby over in the White House this year, which has been a joy because I hadn't gotten to because it's these people like your siblings, like and you love them like family. But it's beautiful. It's beautiful when you step in front of someone that you've known a while, and then you're working with them, and you're in their eyes in a different way. It is a beautiful shift, and so to get to unlock that with each of this wonderful bunch of family that I have, it's like little bits of joy that just keep getting laid out and laid out, because they're all gorgeous actors and so generous, and their little hearts open wide and their little eyes open wide, and then you just go on this. You go anywhere together because you trust each other so much. That's the greatest thing I think about our set, is that when you have trust like that, then anything is possible. And I've been on so many sets as a guest star on 100,000 shows. My hand to heaven, I'm grateful that I can have gotten to job around that much. But when you go on a set that's either led by someone who's unhappy or just fractious in some way, it shuts down your heart, so it shuts down your work. But our crew, our cast, everybody makes the craziness possible because everybody's in it 100% with their whole hearts.
And I know you have to run, but last question or last comment. If, you know, a year from now we might be talking to you and you might be president of Scandal, can you give us maybe 1 or 2 words just to fathom what that would mean?
Ooh, unpredictable. I think Mellie would have a rather unpredictable administration, and inspiring. I still think Mellie has great leadership inside of her. She's very adaptable. Like, I've watched her grow and change this year in ways that I could never have imagined her capable of. But she's still very able to submit to the whims of her emotion now and again. So I think it would be a real ride.
Mm-hmm. Perfect little tease. But best of luck at the Emmys. The Emmy ballots came out today, so we're all rooting for you here at Gold Derby.
Thank you, Marcus. It's been a pleasure to get to be here again with you. It means the world. So thank you. And I hope you have a great rest of the day. And tell Rob, hey.
Okay, well, thanks a lot.